What's up, fam? Elijah Shidler here. Welcome back to another episode of EXTOL WE. And this week, Stan, Azriela, Kailani, and Charla are my extras, and I am the ordinary. Stan, I want to thank you so much for your prophetic voice in my life. That it's so beautiful to see how we can speak into the lives of others just by staying sensitive to who God is, being in love with Him, and speaking the love of our hearts for other people as we experience the overflow of God's goodness coming through them in supernatural ways. I thank you for your proactivity, your boldness in my life to come and to speak to me on this last Sunday. And I bless you in Jesus' name. Family, this last week, the video that went live here in 2024 was Bringing Up Baby. And it was connected to another video posted 3.5 years ago in the past called Moving Father's Heart. And it's so beautiful getting to see how what Stan spoke to me, out of the overflow of his heart and just his love for the Lord, and seeing God's image and grace pouring through me, and how that affected my life in God as a result. In the video Bringing Up Baby, the principle is that as our children grow, and they grow in age and in number, that we should see an accelerating momentum in discipleship in our families, not a lessening. As is so often the case, we see that children who are born last, they often mature the slowest as the load of children gets more and more, and there's less and less time to spend on them. But in the kingdom, the pattern is that those who come last should spin up quicker and quicker. And connected to that then was Moving Father's Heart, where Azriela came to me as a very little girl and said, "Dad, can I do an art project?" I said, before you jump into that, because we're getting ready to do breakfast, like, what is it that you're wanting to do? She said, "Daddy, I want to draw you sweet pictures so that when I leave home, that you can remember me and not forget me." Oh my goodness. If you're a parent, you know how that pulls at your heartstrings to hear your child say such things. But it revealed this spiritual reality that if my daughter can so move my heart with the expressions of her love, how much more can I move the Father's heart with my open expressions of love? The beautiful part of what then Stan said to me on this last Sunday, as my video was going live at 10:50 a.m. MST, was that he came to me and said that he and Linda had seen me and my little girls at the Pursuit Night of March 19th, dancing around, having fun, playing with the flags, and that he encouraged me that clapping that I was doing during the worship, that both he and his wife noticed that the way that I was clapping was releasing something in the Lord, but that he wanted to encourage me in that and to stay sensitive to the Lord. I shared with him that I remembered exactly what he was talking about. The Lord was calling me to clap most effusively, but that I normally don't clap very often, and especially not in the manner with which the Lord was calling me to in that moment. But I said, "Father, I want to please your heart more than staying safe or dignified. And just so you know, dignity is not a fruit of the Spirit." So as I pressed into clapping and dancing around, having fun with my little girls, it released grace from the Father that was able to then resonate in my friend Stan's heart. He encouraged me to keep pressing into that, but that he also said, "Son, press hard into your family. Don't shrink back from loving your children." As an older man, and my wife Linda as an older woman, as we see you having so much fun with your children, it just blesses our hearts. It reminds us of when we had our children. And as an older man, I want to admonish you, pour into your children and don't stop. Don't stop loving your kids. Now, it was so incredibly beautiful that Stan didn't know that then that Tuesday, our Pursuit Night at our services, that I had chosen again that my girls and I were going to go to Pursuit Night again. And that was the second time that we had gone, and that Stan spoke to me that Sunday, just before that second pursuit, affirming, yes, this is the way of the Lord in your life. Pressing into that with Azriela then later in the week, she was fighting hard in not wanting to go to day camps. That she doesn't like new things. She doesn't like being away from the family. And as a result of that, then experiences a lot of emotional trauma. She cries and is nervous and doesn't want to do it. But I told her, honey, you are going to go to day camp. Daddy wants to send you into hard things. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith develops perseverance, and it leads to maturity, completeness, and wholeness with a lack of nothing. And so as I spoke with Azriel about that, it was so beautiful that she was able to engage the spiritual reality and to stand with me and say, Dad, I am going to day camp. It's going to be hard, but I trust you. It was so beautiful to see. Her struggle is with pressing into the unknown. And Kailani said, Dad, what was the conversation you had with Azzy? Why is Azzy crying? Why is she having such a hard time? I don't have a hard time going to day camp. I said, Kai Bear, please come here and talk with Daddy. Kai girl, what is it that you have a difficult time with? She said, I have a hard time listening to you in regards to eating my food. That we have cultural values of we celebrate our preferences, we dominate our appetites. We have a very clear process of eating our food. It's a 3-step process of get a bite, chew it up, swallow it, and repeat. Every time that you work that vision, so amazing. All the food disappears off of your plate. Now, Kai girl, when I asked her, do you have a hard time with doing new things? Are you worried about going to day camp? No. Her eyes just flash. And out of all of the day camps that there were to pick from, she picked fire camp. She wants to learn how to make fire responsibly. She's my wild girl. She's so adventurous and tenacious, and she doesn't struggle with new things, but she does wrestle with managing her appetite, ruling in her appetites. And so I asked her, Kai girl, is that tough? Right away, her face, it just fell. But I celebrated with her that, honey, when I ask you to eat your food, even though you don't like it, you say, Dad, I agree, I don't like it. It's not my preference, but Dad, I'm dominating my appetites. It's so beautiful pressing in with her that we've talked about how Jesus likewise dominated his appetites, that the Father said, Son, here is a cup that I want you to drink from. The Son said, Father, that is not my preference. The Father said, yep, I hear you loud and clear. I received that. You're free to say it, but please drink this cup anyway. The Son said, you bet, Dad, I'm going to dominate my appetite. And he chugged that thing. And as I talked with Kailani and Azriela, that they both affirmed and said, Dad, we're doing hard things now to set us up for the future in order to be successful then. If we wait until the future, when we have to step into really hard things and we don't do hard things now, we're not going to be ready for those things, Dad. So thank you for guiding us into hard things. Fam, I tried to make that video to tell that story with my girlies, but it was having such a hard time that we all agreed that it was best that we not move forward with trying to make the video because it was too forced. And so I sent them both back into the house, and I waited here to the next morning to make this video in the perfect timing. God knew that I needed to make a different video, to go in a different direction, that he has things that are difficult for me to engage, that it's not enough for us to be parents who guide our children into confronting hard things and not live an example of faith and faithfulness that demonstrates that we ourselves are willing to embrace hard things. A principle from Scripture that I've extracted from the life of Jesus is that just because one is aware of their destiny doesn't mean that they're in control of its timing or its release. Destiny engaged outside of its appropriate time space can only be interpreted as rebellion. As we move forward in our destinies, it's of the utmost importance to rely upon the Father and his timing, his guiding of us, to lead us in his words and his actions to be released that represent him as he so desires. Recently, God has revealed to me the reality that prayer is the transcendence of prophecy, that We so often celebrate prophecy. We have classes on prophecy. We teach how to do prophecy, that we often look to people who are prophets and we're like, wow, that person's a prophet. They speak the words of the Lord. Wow, how did they know that? That's incredible. We should ask them to minister to us more, which is so incredibly beautiful. The prophetic is such a beautiful gift and grace from the Father that imparts strength, encouragement, and refreshing. It's a beautiful gift. However, there is a point, though, that prayer is prophecy's transcendence. That when Moses invited the people to come up the hill of the Lord to meet with God face to face, the people saw the fire, the trembling, the thunder, the earthquakes, and said, no, we don't want to go and talk to God face to face. You go talk to God on our behalf and come back and tell us what he said. They missed their opportunity to ascend the hill of the Lord and to meet with God face to face, to receive from him the overflow of his heart, and to come back with a face that reveals the glory of God such that people can see a palpable difference, not to hear necessarily the words that are coming out of your mouth, but to recognize, man, there's something different about that guy. Jesus reveals the same pattern in his transfiguration, and that he goes up the mountain. And it says that when he came back down the mountain and having been transfigured, that the people saw him from a great distance and went to see. And they went to him in wonder and amazement. And that when a little boy was brought who was demon possessed, that says when the demons saw Jesus, they freaked out. Why? Because there was a manifest testimony in his person, not in his words, not in what he was saying, but there was a visible demonstration of the glory of God radiating from Jesus's person. The beauty then of what God is inviting me into is that he is inviting me to ascend the hill of the Lord with him for a time and to speak with him face to face. It's not enough for me to prophesy of the goodness of God, to release grace to you so that you can know my Father more and value prophesying over praying, spending time in my Father's arms, allowing him to hold me, allowing him to rock me to sleep, and desiring nothing more than to make sweet, sweet videos for my Father so that when he sees them, he can remember and know how much I love him. There's no danger in my Father forgetting me. But there is a danger in me forgetting my Father, not remembering the capacity that I have to move his heart and valuing talking to others about God over spending time in his presence on the hill of the Lord, speaking with him. Family, my greatest challenge it's not my children's greatest challenge. I don't fear new things. I don't fear eating my food. Thanks to my father, Roger Joseph Scheidler, I can manage my appetites really well. But I do have a profound fear of not being seen. I have a mighty destiny, fam, that burns within me. I've seen amazing things on the hill of the Lord with my Father. I've spoken with him face to face. That's irrelevant if I speak out of the things I've seen of the Father in the past that I don't press into, remembering the reality that speaking with your Father face to face is preferable to hearing about him from people who have thusly sat in his presence as a friend. It's not enough to tell others of the glories of God that you've experienced and do experience, and forget that you have the capacity to move his heart, and that beyond making videos for him, drawing pictures for him, eating and drinking the things that he gives you, that all of those things are irrelevant to his heart's desire to have us rest in his arms, falling asleep in his presence, trusting him to provide for your every need, and going to sleep with his face in your vision, and waking with his face presiding over you still, abiding with him ever. And that in the times when you spend with him on the mountain, that you come back down the mountain to reveal him to those who have not sat in his presence on the mountain, or that you brought them along and they fell asleep out of immaturity and they don't understand what God is saying to you. They don't understand that you're inviting them further in to be with you. You would lay it all aside to allow the Father to call you higher up, to call you to set aside things that burn within you, to spend time within the flame and the power of his passion, to burn yourself as you're consumed by his desire for you. Charla, you are my extra, and I am the ordinary. I celebrate your vulnerability, your courageousness, your passion to express your heart to me, to tell me of your desire, to tell me of your passion, to tell me how I move your heart. Wife, I bless you in Jesus' name, and I'm so thankful for you. I'm thankful for the grace of our Father that has come through you to invite me into knowing him more. I've said it often, the value of a wife is to remind her husband of his heart in God when he himself has forgotten. Family, I'm heading up the hill of the Lord. You're not going to hear from me for some time. Valerie, George, I bless you in Jesus' name. Thank you for inviting us into the prophetic. Thank you for inviting us into good tools to know how to prophesy. George, I thank you that in our last class, which was last night, that you spoke of Moses ascending the hill of the Lord. Very prophetic of you, sir, and helped confirm things that I've been hearing with God in prayer. Oh, family, I just finished a 12-week course with George and Valerie on prophecy. But God was speaking to me about prayer. Like Moses, I'm going to ascend the hill of the Lord. You're not going to hear from me for a while. Resist the urge of creating golden calves while I'm gone. Oh, man. But do know that if I come back down the hill of the Lord and you're worshiping golden calves, I'll grind it up and I'll make you drink it. Don't do that. Thank you, Alicia. Point blank, don't do that. Ascend the hill of the Lord. Family, I want to exercise my gifts to please our Father's heart, to make videos for him, to make sermons, to make books, to make massive gatherings, to invite people into his presence. I want to exercise the gifts that my Father has given me to please his heart, to impart grace to you so that you can know him more. I want Charla, Azriela, Kailani, Bowden, Jamin, to know my Father's heart. I want to receive grace from them to know him more. The best way that I can do that is to make sure that I'm spending time with my Father face to face and not getting distracted by my destiny. And making sure that when I descend from the hill of the Lord, that those who are with me, coming from its heights, are those that God has given me specifically as my family. Family, don't forget that the Father's heart is moved by your love for him. He will not forget you, but you can't forget him. Allow him to pick you up in his arms, to bring you up as his child. And in resting in his arms, sleeping in his presence, never leave that rest as you forge forward into the rest of your destiny in him. So, if you subscribe to what I am doing, making Jesus' name greater in the earth than it has ever been before, then hit that subscribe button. Subscribe to what I'm doing. Don't just subscribe to a stupid channel to waste your time. Nah. If you subscribe to what I'm doing, say, I see what you're doing and I'm going to give my life to that as well, then hit the button as an act of faith and then get it. Hit the bell as well so you get notified with the new content. I'm so content. And if you love this video, you didn't just like it. Obey me by faith. Show that you love me by doing as I have commanded you. And hit the thumbs down button. I promise you, it won't taste good and you won't like it and you'll fight against it in your mind. But I'm commanding you the authority that God has given me. If you love me, you will obey me. And if you loved this video, hit the thumbs down button. I pray blessings on all of our lives together. I love you guys lots, and I will see you in the next video.